If you're new here, my name is Kevon. And if you're old, hey babes, how you doing? Or really and truly, I've been wanting to really come back. Should I use my mic? Should I use my mic, boy? I feel like it could work. I really hope you can hear me. But yeah, I've been wanting to get back in my YouTube bag. Get back in my YouTube space, get back in my, just sitting down, chatting, having tea, catching up, just getting deep, getting real, I've been real, but sharing real and creating community. I'm just gonna dive in. If you don't have a cup of tea, I say get one, and let's cozy up and let's get into it. So pause the button, click pause, and let's get into it. She's hot. I'm having a Clippers peppermint tea, and it is hot sun. I'm having tea in the hot sun. And today we are in Trinidad. It's 45 degrees. I'm lying. It's 34. For the past, I want to say 6 months, I have been on a community drive. That for me is all about building community. First, it was seeing the importance of having community. And there's just so much I can get into where community is regarded, because I feel in the societies that I've grown up in Trinidad, it feels very individualistic, even though we have such a great mesh of understanding family ties and blah 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 and blah blah blah. It still feels like an individualistic drive, and I have been so fortunate to be able to think about community, or just have the capacity to feel if I can be a part of one, or build one, or support one, or be supported by one. And it has indefinitely been invaluable. There's so much I have to talk about. I know I can't put everything in one video, so y'all can hold me accountable by commenting, messaging me, telling me, yo, we need to sit down and have a cup of tea. There is so much that I have been literally sitting down on, with regards to sharing or just doing in general. So I'm very happy. If you're seeing this, just know that it's been a long time coming, and I've been wanting to do this for years. I started my YouTube channel in 2019, 2020? I don't know. But I started my YouTube channel back then, and before that, I've been obsessed with YouTube. We're talking 2012. 2012, I would have been what? 14? Yeah. We're talking I had just started secondary school, and I got into the YouTube world with when YouTube was cool. YouTube is cool, but everybody is aesthetic. But when people were doing YouTube challenges and friendship tags and all of those cool things, I've been on YouTube. But I started mine with the intention. Back then I was really trying to model. I was trying to get in my modeling bag, and I thought that I would have used this platform to document that journey. But COVID happened. A moment of silence for the time lost. COVID happened, and life started feeling more alive again. And I think since that happened, I just so much things happened since I created this channel. I'm so happy I can laugh at those things now, but it was not good. It was not fun and fresh. But we're here today, and I feel my intention behind setting up my camera and recording was talking about anxiety, I just needed to get that off my chest. Anxiety, anxiety, anxiety. I've said it. I'm so sorry if that is like triggering. But I've been experiencing anxiety for as long as I could remember. Like, I was talking to one of my friends, and like, one of my coping mechanisms is like sucking my tongue, and an unhealthy one is grinding my jaw. Like, I've been noticing it more in my life. Like, before, I always just never like paid attention to like it, because I'm very weird in that I feel like if I acknowledge, I felt, this isn't the past, this is the old me. Am I sweating? I am. This is the old me. I used to think that if I acknowledge something, it becomes more real. So if I acknowledged that I had anxiety, I would have felt anxious. And it is very self-manipulative, because it's like a form of suppression. And like, now for me, an acknowledgement of something like that, it's more like I have the opportunity to work on it. And so, or just acknowledge that it is something that I am experiencing. And I think that whole journey with like one acknowledgement, one was detachment for me, because I always used to get frustrated when, I hear people talking about like wellness, and, they describe either themselves or other people as anxious beings. And I'm just like, bro, I can't get behind that. Like, my mindset behind being human is, we are thrown into, let's say, a scenario. Like, the scenario would be in the environment in which we live in. We're thrown into that scenario, and with that scenario, we adapt. And so I think I could not get behind being an anxious person as opposed to experiencing anxiety. And like, learning other languages, or attempting to learn other languages, because I don't have a lot of languages under my belt, but attempting to learn other languages and understanding linguistics and how we use English really struck a chord for me in understanding like myself, and how to describe myself, and who I am and what I'm not. And I was so happy to acknowledge that I am not anxious. I experience anxiety. And that for me was like, I couldn't have planned it any other way. Like, I didn't plan it. But I was so happy to know that I was not an anxious person. It's not me. I'm not the problem. Everything else is. And like, I believe in that more now. Being able to recognize it, sit down, introspect, and then just like honestly drop it. I'm not a girly to have money for therapy. I wish I would give my therapist. I'm so sorry. Let's pause for the ambulance to pass. Yes, I would be like, therapist, here's my money. Take it. Give me tools. But unfortunately, like, the way that my finances is set up, I have to do what I can with what I have. And what I have is myself. I'm talking about this because I got this comment on one of my Instagram get ready with me, and the comment was, I was talking about social anxiety, and how I have to prep myself before I leave the house, either for regular like interactions with people, like if I'm going to the grocery, rel prep, if I'm going to work, or like a social event, more prep. And they were like, social anxiety? They expressed a level of confusion with relation to me having anxiety or social anxiety. And I found that was real interesting. I'm just like, because I use social media does not omit me from experiencing social anxiety. And yeah, I just wanted to talk about it because I feel like I don't want to purport an image that, I'm something. I just wanted to like hold space for myself and also open up space and like my spaces for other people who either uses like social media platforms, to just say that using social media platforms is not synonymous to being socially confident or being socially like being a social butterfly. On the topic of like anxiety, I feel like it can be a good thing for me to share like what tools I use and how I like maneuver experience in different forms of anxiety. So for social anxiety, I like to get myself in a vibrational frame of being. That is like the best way I could describe it, because it involves painting the best social picture for myself, kind of like getting into like a state of movement. So that includes dancing, singing, and just like, again, getting my getting my vibrational frequency to a social level. Because on a regular day, like I'm like this, I'm like with a cup of tea, just like chilling, and I'm usually by myself. Like 80% of the time I'm like by myself. Once I'm not with like other people, this is just how I am. And so pulling myself out of this really nice, cozy, like chilled, slow vibrational frequency to one that is much more vibrant and just like it's more energy, I have to like bring my frequency a little bit up to be like social, at least in the social spaces in Trinidad. So that's like how I prep for like social anxiety or experiencing or mitigating experiencing that. And like there's a lot of other things that I like do or put in place. So if I'm going to a social event and I can have some of my friends there, or I know quite a few people there, it's kind of, I described this to one of my friends, Maria, I love you. She's like one of my anchor friends. So like if we're going to a party or something that's a bit dancey, like I love having her around. And an anchor friend is like just someone who you just narrow into them, like they're your anchor and you just like warm up through them. Maria, she has no problem walking in a room and like getting the ball rolling. I have a problem with walking in a room and getting the ball. I have to like sit down and like just meditate, tell myself that people in this room love me, and people in this room don't think of me as a waste of space. It goes all the way back to like childhood, and like I see places in my life where maybe a little bit more nurturing, a little bit more encouragement would have removed this aspect of social anxiety, because I grew up alone also, and I grew up in Laventille, and my mom, like, she never really instigated whether like interacting with people or not interacting with people. So I liked my own space. I would be inside as a kid watching TV and or coloring or doing my homework. I was real self-sufficient, and I still am. So there's no harm in that. But that's kind of like the general sphere of social anxiety. Girl, I have to uncross my legs for this one. Financial anxiety for me has always been a big one, because I've never had like financial security in my life. contrary to popular beliefs. Like, I I grew up with a single parent, and well, with that being said, we just always had to make ends meet, and ends used to be met. And I was not a low maintenance child. Still, I'm not. But my mom, she did her best. She never made my desires seem unreasonable. Oh my god. I need to call my mom and tell her that. Um, but I never felt like if me asking for something was unreasonable or the things that I liked was unreasonable. I always knew that money was a situation. And like, because she always tried her best, and I think I saw that and I could have reasoned with that. Like, I never felt any type of way where money was regarded. And so I think then in turn I grew up with, or I took on independent financial role because I knew how much I had to support myself. um just having the dynamic I had with my mom. And so I want to say I started working. And a lot of people don't know this. I think when I meet new people, it's really interesting to hear their perception of me based on what they see. And I think for most, and they don't see me as a kid that grew up in Laventille, or me as a kid that went to public school, and just me as a kid that does not have a lot of money, because not gonna lie, I look pretty well off. Very humble. But I have been very fortunate in being supported and like welcoming support, because yes, I started working at around 16. I want to say, like, as soon as I could have started working for like summers, I started working, and I worked at a bookstore, and I would take that same money and like fund myself to go back to school. And from those times I became very self-empowered, and with a can do attitude, or a can achieve attitude. And I think that was like the most important thing, because if you don't have a can do attitude, you can't do anything, or everything is a problem. I always, if I wanted something, I would always make it happen. Fast forward to secondary school, A levels, funded myself, university, funded myself, and then COVID, I moved out, paid my own rent, funded myself. Like, a lot of things happened throughout that time, still funded myself. Since I moved out, I created so many streams for myself, or made myself equipped for financial gain. That is being resourceful, learning new skills, etc., etc., etc. In summary, for me, feeling financially anxious is a constant state, because I don't know what financial security feels like. In that I have a great deal of savings that would take me through 6 months. I don't have that. I have to go month by month, or it's not. I have to go. I just have to go. It's been a journey, like, and I think because I have a background of making or being reasonable. Like, when I have money, I have money. When I don't, we pull it together, and my lifestyle adjusts. That is how I cope with financial anxiety. I just adjust my financial desires, and budgeting helps. Well, I budget monthly, and I financial forecast like every 3 months. So I have a good understanding of how I can make money. for what I want, and I always like try to have a very tight but breathable budget for each month. The biggest tool for me is setting a mindset of I can do, I can achieve. It's like a self-empowerment where I kind of know that whatever the month brings, I can adjust and I can do. I love, 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 like not counting my eggs in a basket, but kind of pooling. So okay, everybody calm down. I have this very interesting thing that I came up with, inspired by one of my really lovely, like I love her, Rihanna Chan. And I saw her do like a manifesto. It was just like a monthly manifesto thingy, and like I saw that she shared it on her stories, and this was a while ago. I saw that and I was like, oh my god, I love this. I love the idea of having like a manifesto. And then I took it and I created something called a manual. And my idea behind this manual is very morbid, but it's very reasonable. I was like, what if I went into a coma for like 6 months? Like, if I got out from this coma, like, how would I jug myself back to who I was? Wild. And so I have a manual for seasons. So just as I budget for every 3 months, I have a manual that like foreshadows for 3 months. So my year goes into like 4 month like brackets, and I do for 3 months. So the month in between is like a transitionary month where, you know, we just like figure things out, or just like evaluate, reevaluate, just breathe. So this manual like takes into account a lot of things. It takes into account the weather. It takes into account what season it is. It takes into account like planetary like operations, if you're into understanding how the planets or the moon or the stars retrograde, all it. If you're into that a little bit, I'm into it a little bit, but if you're into that like a lot or a little bit, like I put all those things in there because I believe in work with the season to mitigate or just understand like challenges that might be present. So, and my projects within those financial like periods are based around the season. So for instance, I have quite a big deal of offerings that I can do. So I can do social media, I can do influencing, I can do modeling, I can do art, I can do art assistance, I can do bay leaf, I can do the poor vegetarian, which is one of my food blogs. I can do content creation for other people, or I do designs. I can do quite a lot, and so I list all of these things into my manual, and every like season or every period I like see what is best suited for that time. So in January, it might be better to do content creation for Carnival as opposed to focus on baking for bay leaf, because nobody really wants bread for Carnival. Like, you know, being strategic on what you focus on. And that it really helps me understand that not everything has to look at its pinnacle. So, you know, everyone always asks me like, oh, like bay leaf, you know, it could be so big and it could be so great, blah, blah, blah. But I am one person. And it goes the same for everything else that I can do, because everyone else is always like, oh my god, you could be such a great model, blah, blah, blah. You can go international, or you can be a content creator, blah, blah, blah. I can do all these things, but I am only one person. So how I process that and how I internalize that is doing them in seasons. I'm a big believer of seasons, if you have not figured that out by now. But yeah, that is how I deal with financial anxiety in a I love doing that. Honestly, just general anxiety. I just like doing stuff like yoga. Not everybody is a yoga girly. I'm not like a yoga girly in that it's my whole life, or it's for the aesthetic, or like how it looks on me as a person. You know, I drink yogurt, green tea, matcha, blah blah blah, namaste. No. I do yoga I do yoga as a way in which I connect back to myself, in a way that I ground myself. It's still very spiritual, and it's still very personal. So, like, reconnecting, you know, where the breath reconnects with the body and reconnects with the earth, reconnects with the environment. It's like a sensual thing. I'm a sensual being. And so that is how I process, like, just general anxiety with everything. Like, just sometimes, you know, you just feel anxious for whatever. It could be a combination of financial and social, political, sexual. That is how I go through, in summary, just processing general anxiety. If you like anybody that uses any social media platform, this is my plea. Just know that majority of us experience multitudinous forms of anxiety, and you know, it's just a matter of how we either mask it or deal with it or just process it. And so I just really wanted to share my experience and how I deal with it, and what I find to be useful, and hopefully anyone else who either uses social media or just like a being that experiences anxiety in this capitalistic world, in which makes us feel inadequate financially and inadequate socially, and like, you know, we just can't find a grip. Thank you for sitting down. I'm just gonna wrap up because I could go on and on and on and on, and I want to do this more. So if you like this, or if you want to see more different types of what I can do, let's talk in the comments, and let us like share resources, like whether it be free therapy links, or just like things that you do. So yeah, as the sirens pass, I will take it as my cue. Thank you for watching, and I love you, and I think you're incredible. Thank you for being yourself, and thank you for inviting different. That's all I'm about to say. That's all I'm gonna say.